What's happening, guys? Today I'm going to talk about diet breaks with my man, Paul Revelia.
What's up, guys? And girls.
So, one of the things I want to talk about with diet breaks is because not only have I gone through it with you as if you didn't know, Paul is my coach and a very good friend as well. And he also has a fantastic YouTube channel that you should go check out. I will put a link in the description so you can go do that if you aren't already, which you probably are. But one of the things that I have noticed with diet breaks with my clientele a lot lately is a lot of hesitance to do them. And even though we can kind of explain some of the benefits, I've done videos in the past on the science behind it, how they're effective, ways to implement it and things like that. There's always a lot of, or not always, but quite frequently there's a lot of hesitance to do it, a lot of fear that it's going to make them gain a little bit more weight than they want, and they kind of almost feel like it's going backwards.
Sure.
And I want to kind of get your take on that, if you've noticed the same thing or not, and some of the strategies you might take when you do find that to be an issue.
Yeah, so I think even the first time I tried like consecutive day refeeds, like years ago when Eric Helms mentioned to me that 2 consecutive refeeds were better than 1, and I tried it. I remember my first client thinking, messaging me, "Are you sure this is what we want to do?" So there's always going to be a fear with eating more when the goal is weight loss. I think that's something you have to get like into the mind of your client a little bit to understand. Now I work with primarily competitors at this point, so they're especially afraid of a diet break.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do often is Jedi mind trick them, and I will get them to do a diet break without really knowing it. I'll have them do 2 refeed days, but in my mind I know I'm just going to keep adding a refeed.
Back in.
Because there's that idea that like the more we eat, the more body fat we gain. So someone that wants to lose weight has a tendency to not want to eat more. The whole reverse dieting thing is very difficult on a psychological level. Only when you have multiple success stories do people start to buy into your methods. Now, I've been blessed with amazing clients. People tend to trust me through this process. But I even have a client this week who's competing in 6 weeks, and we've decided to do a diet break. And she's like, "Well, I'm not really sure I'm excited about a diet break, but let's go ahead and do it." She's buying in, and I told her we're going to take it day by day. So it's just. I think every person you're going to have a different approach with, explaining how things work, explaining the benefits, and then only then are you going to get the buy-in from your clients.
Yeah, and most of the time people will do it. They're just they're a little hesitant to it, and with I understand it, completely. Yeah. But the more I've done it now, it's still relatively new, this whole diet break idea. In terms of like popularizing it and like really implementing longer, like 1 week, 2 week diet breaks. Yep. Most of my clientele, or almost all, are more general population, people just trying to get in better shape. So with them, it's a little bit easier because there's no deadline, right? Most of the time.
I'd say diet breaks are actually more important for people that don't have a deadline. The real difficulty with contest prep is that we have to be on stage by a certain time, and so with the diet break, the goal is, in my mind, to keep body fat stable. My goal is not to lose body fat. It often happens that people lose body fat through, changes in, metabolic performance, thermic effect of food, your NEAT goes up, your training's better, you sleep better. So all these things start to compound, and you might actually get leaner or lose weight. Digestion might improve, There's all these dynamic processes that make the scale have a number on it, that you might actually be dropping body fat. You might just be leaner because those processes are faster. So, but anybody that wants to lose weight and they add food in and they see the scale go down, they're like, holy, you're a magician.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding you. I bet you 3 out of 4 people that I put on a diet break for 2 weeks probably lose at least a little bit. At a minimum, they maintain.
Yeah, I'd say,
very rarely does anybody ever gain. And even if you do gain a slight amount, the benefit that you're going to get from that hormonally and metabolically, and just how you feel and your mindset, is going to be well worth a half a pound that might go on the scale.
So one thing, when you're talking about mindset, one thing I like to do with somebody that's in a fat loss phase or contest prep is tell them when their diet break's going to be.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing 18 weeks of linear dieting, that's scary. 18 weeks of linear, by linear I mean just always going down. You're cutting calories, adding cardio. By a non-linear approach, where you're going to get a break in there, where you're going to have a week of normal, you can push a little harder, be a little more diligent, because you got that week coming up. It's almost like the cheat meal approach. When you have a cheat meal, you can stick to your diet a little better.
That's one of the things I'm finding myself as a coach too, is that there are more benefits to having kind of deadlines with the cutting phase, even for general population, which before I didn't really think that was a good idea.
Right.
Now I'm finding that people just have a much easier time sticking to the plan if they have that deadline. So if you say, okay, we're going to cut for 16 weeks, they go, okay, 16 weeks, I can handle that. I can go hard for those 16 weeks because I know it's going to be done. Whereas if you're just kind of like aimlessly cutting until you get to a spot where you want to reverse, it's kind of like, well, I don't need to pay that close attention. It's not that big of a deal because there's no deadline, and I can just, so it can be really hard to stick to it. So everyone's a little bit different. Some people do really well with that. Some people don't. Yep. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. It's a little bit off topic. Now, with regards to diet breaks as well, one of the things that I have found is a lot of times people will do a diet break, but they won't take it quite as seriously as their cutting macros. So you'll see, like, say if somebody's eating 1,500 calories and the diet break is, say, 1,750, this is just totally random, they might eat 1,500 calories and then 1,750 and then back down to 1,500 and then up to 17, and it kind of goes up and down. And in my opinion, they're really hurting themselves by doing that because they're not allowing their body to get the break and see the improvements in hormones and metabolic rate, because the body's still going to think that those calories are lower. Do you agree with that, or what do you?
Yeah, so actually the research shows, not only with the diet break, but the research shows the reason I started doing multiple day refeeds with my clients. So as people get leaner and leaner and leaner, the research showed me that 2 consecutive refeed days had a much bigger impact on hormones than a single refeed day. Single refeeds basically essentially had no impact on hormones. So the really only benefit was some added glycogen, right? Whereas 2 consecutive refeeds actually showed an improvement in some of the hormone markers that we see that kind of become depressed during a fat loss phase. So by your theory, if you're doing one day, it would essentially be like a refeed, and then going back and then a refeed, you're not getting the benefit of 2 days in a row of being in that little bit of a surplus or maintenance. And so by not doing that, you're essentially kind of just washing out the results. Probably not gonna lose weight or gain weight, but you're probably also not gonna get a lot of the benefits.
Yeah, you're not gonna get all the benefits that you would if you stick to it. So again, it goes back to, don't be afraid of it. Go ahead, go all in and do it. And you're just gonna see so many benefits from it. There's so many adaptations that happen through dieting, and that's one of the questions I get quite frequently is, well, if you're supposed to go back to maintenance when you're dieting, one of the tricks that I like to do to get people to lose weight if they get stuck is actually give them a diet break and then come back and either go back to the main or their normal macros, or even make the adjustment after the diet break, and that seems to work really well. But the thing that confuses them is, well, if I'm maintaining on these calories, if I now add in a diet break and bring my calories back up, I'm above my maintenance.
Right.
How is that maintenance? Well, there's a lot of processes that happen in the body, and a lot of hormonal processes, a lot of metabolic processes, and these just get really basically messed up from dieting. They get suppressed, and when you add the calories back in, not only does that help with hormones and metabolism and things like that, but it also makes you feel better. You probably move around a little bit more. You get a little bit more life to you. So you're really not going into a surplus at that point. I know it's a little bit confusing because we like to look at it black and white and just kind of do math. But it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, no, I know one thing I like to do now with clients is actually track activity throughout the day, with all the technology, the Fitbits and that things. I used to, as a coach, just look at someone's macros and their cardio and make adjustments based on that. But now I really find the benefit in getting feedback, like, hey, what's your day like? What's your life like? Are you laying on the couch all day and then going to the gym? How many, are you tracking steps? Are your average steps down? Because you don't want to just trade cardio for inactivity.
Exactly.
And the one thing about a diet break that's really beneficial is that you tend to get that pep in your step back. You want to go the extra mile. You want to do the chores that you kind of been putting off. You want to do the little things that, even just moving my hands like this. If you watch my videos from October of last year, I was probably very, very still. Like you start to conserve energy subconsciously. You don't even consciously do it.
Yeah.
And those kind of things return when you're doing a diet break.
Yeah. So there's just so many benefits to it. And like, even for myself personally, we went through about 6 months of dieting, and I got about halfway there and just got stuck and was feeling run down, miserable. I was hungry all the time, just not in a good spot, which that's not normal for me. And we went ahead and did a 2-week diet break. Yeah. And like that it breathed life into me. Like it just changed everything. And I went through the whole rest of the cut. I still dieted for a couple months after that. Yeah. But I wasn't really hungry anymore. Yeah. I felt a million times better. And the results started coming back. So we had been stalled out for like 5 weeks at 173. Came back to the exact same macros. Didn't even make any adjustments. I think it gave me like 20 minutes of cardio extra. Yeah. And
per week.
Boom. Just started losing like that every single week, and got the leanest I'd ever been. So The main message of this video is don't be afraid of diet breaks. They are extremely beneficial. I get it. It is scary, but it will do you a lot of good. And in the long run, you know it's going to pay off. So thank you, Paul, for joining us today. Make sure you check out his channel that I will have linked. And I have 2 videos that I have done on diet breaks that I will put at the end of this here. One on not only some of the scientific research that supports diet breaks, and then another one on how to set up your own diet breaks and how to implement them into your own training. So check those out, and we will talk to you later.
See you guys.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.